we've come a long way. We are going to look into the last part of the introduction to Python development. So we are going to learn about the for loops. So the for loops are used for actually iteration. So if you want to iterate to maybe a list or maybe a certain any sequence of characters, then you're going to use the for loop. So we are going to actually do this one, and then the final one will be done with the introduction. That will be now the nested for loops. So the first thing if you want to you can do with actually for loop is this is the architecture. So for the variable, then you have the condition, then now do this. So maybe like then your code comes here. So what this actually does is you use the for keyword, then your variable name, then the condition, or maybe what do you want to perform, and then it will keep actually iterating through this code that you've written here for the entire, as long as that actually condition is being met. So let's see, for example, we want to iterate through maybe a string. So let's say for name, so you use the in word. So let's say code with themes on. So then make sure you end this with your full colon. So then we can now maybe print name. So what we expect our editor to do is to print characters separately. So we are telling our compiler that for this name, so this is just a variable name. So let's say now for maybe like username, for username in, so you must also use the keyword in. Then make sure you end with the full colon, then print username. So let's see what our editor will actually print. Great. You now see that we have the entire name here. So we have code with themes open. So that is how you actually iterate through actually a for loop. So the next thing we want to do is, what if you want to iterate through maybe a list? So remember, a list is created with square brackets, and then our strings comes here. So maybe you have several strings, string 1, then maybe you have string 2 or string 3. So let's start by actually iterating through maybe the courses we are going to learn after Python. So for courses in, then we are going to declare that. So for courses in my YouTube channel, so let's say for the courses we're going to learn, so we have maybe Java. Then you make sure you separate, while you're dealing with lists, you have to separate them with a comma and as actually the double string. So for Java we have also Python, then we do also have maybe Android. So let's add the last one. So let's say machine learning. We can actually iterate. So remember to always, don't forget this. If you forget this, the compiler will complain. So make sure you have the full colon. So we can now print courses. So this will now print our courses from our indexing. So we'll learn about indexing. So from 0. So we already learned about it. So index 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you now run this, you now see that our compiler is printing Java, Python, Android, and machine learning. So the next thing we want to do is if we want to iterate through maybe numbers, so we can say for, so we use the keyword range. So for numbers in range, so range takes in actually 2 arguments. So the first argument is the range you want to specify, maybe from 5 to 10, or if you now put 10 alone, then you print this, it will now print directly from actually 0 to that number you've specified. So if you now check out our editor, so it's printing from 0, 1, 2 up to 9. So I'm going to clear this. So let's say we want to specify a range from numbers from 10. So you place in a comma to around 20. So this will print numbers ranging from 10 to 20. So if you print, so remember that the last index is not always included, because when it comes to for loop, it's always n minus 1. So just like indexing, so you have n minus 1. So you should always keep that in mind. So if you want to include 20, you have to actually add to 21, or you add a plus 1. So that's something cool about ranging. So the next thing we would want to do is we want to maybe, if you want to calculate a sum, so for example for a list so of numbers, so you can say numbers, then we assign it to maybe like 10, maybe 20, 30, 40, 40 and 50. Then we'll now come maybe to like use the for loop, so for sum in numbers. So this is how we are actually referencing. So what we are doing here is we are having the sum, so this is a variable name, then a new variable in numbers. So remember our numbers has all these values from 10 to 50. So if you want to calculate the sum, we can now say like total sum, then assign it to our sum now. So we have to first declare something here. So we must first have a starting number. So we can say now we can use our total sum, then assign it to a 0, so that we can now increment the values because we are iterating. So from the iteration we can say now total sum plus equal to the sum. So if you now check on your sum this here, so this is actually an iteration of 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. So we are adding, in each iteration, we are adding a sum here. So if you now print this, we expect to see the total number. So we're going to maybe print it in F string formatting. So maybe total, so let's say total count. Then remember this, so you now have the variable we want to reference, so we have the total sum. So if you run this, we expect we have 150. So if you add this manually, this is actually like 90, 100, and then 150. So we can perform addition or subtraction of anything inside a list by using iterations. So you can use a list together with a for loop to iterate through the elements and calculate the sum. So next one, before we finalize, let's look at nesting for loops.